Welcome to our channel Feeling Well Everywhere. And today we have a special guest, a friend that I made when I sailing from Salvador, Brazil until Trinidad Tobago. We spent almost 30 days on the ocean, and it's my pleasure to be with him and his house like a big island today, all right, in the Hacienda Atlantis. And now with you, Marc Gielissen.
Hi, I am Mauro.
And I am Fabiana. We are life mentors, travelers, and discovery lovers. And this is Feeling Well Everywhere. We created this channel to share reflections, cultures, and experiences around the world.
Our goal is to inspire you to live with more meaning wherever you are.
Thanks, Marc, to accept our invite, all right, to be with us, and thank you to host us in your island in the middle of the mountain, all right. It's so pleasure to be here with you.
Well, all the pleasure is mine. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm Fabiana, of course, which I could meet now, and after 11 years, it's wonderful to have you back in another environment which is not on the sea this time, not on a boat, but here in the nature, in the Spanish mountains.
Yes.
So I'm very happy to have you here, and thanks for inviting me to your podcast.
And guys, Marc, he had so many good stories, all right? But I'll ask him to tell us just a little part of his story when he starts in the business,
Yep.
all right? And when he changed his life and why he changed his life. Marc, tell us where are you from and where you born in, all right? Because this is a good story in what happened with
Right.
this.
So what I want to say is that I have actually a Belgian passport, but I don't feel Belgian at all because my mother was Danish and I was born in the Congo, which makes a special mix. And I always had Africa in my heart because I was born there, and specifically the Congo. And so my story is almost related to the Congo. And I didn't know this before. So do you want to know more about this? I don't know.
Yes, I think it's good, all right? Because for me, when you told me this, sorry, because talk about Africa
Yeah.
is not something that it's common in Brazil when we study geography or history, all right?
Yes,
And
yes.
when you told me, it was so fascinating.
Well, I can give you a short idea about my experience I had from being a businessman or becoming a businessman and ending up being like now sort of a farmer, sailor, and then afterwards a farmer. I became a farmer. So it starts actually at a very young age. I was like 24 years old, working in Brussels in a company selling spectacles and other equipment. And at a certain point, they asked who want to go to the Congo. And it was just after the war, because in Congo is known for all these wars, still ongoing, unfortunately. And I was the only one that raised my hand. I said, I want to go to the Congo. And all my colleagues said, well, how is this possible? This guy must be crazy. He must have stayed too long in the sun to go to a country just after the war. And
you were 24.
sorry?
You were 24 years old.
I was 24 years old at that point in time. And they had a company in the Congo, in Kinshasa. And they asked someone to become managing director of this company. And I said, and I was the only one within the company that actually was ready to go there. No one wanted to go there, it's too dangerous. And ultimately, the boss invited me, the CEO invited me, and he said, Marc, you cannot go because you're too young. You don't have any experience in management, so you can't go there. But I was convinced in my head, I visualized myself in the Congo sitting at the desk in that company.
You visualized.
I visualized this and I saw myself really sitting there. And it was very disappointed. I was very disappointed when he told me, you can't go because you're just too young. We will search out of the company because within the company no one wants to go. So we will search out of the company. So it was a big surprise that after 1 week he called me and he said, Mark, you know, we hire you. You have the job. You can go. And 1 month later I was in the Congo. And then my family came and so on. And I worked there for 2 years and then I wanted to be independent.
You said your family, your wife?
My wife and one child that I had at the moment, at that time, at that point in time, and a second child.
How old was he?
He was 3 years old.
3 years,
yes,
old.
yes.
And
we had a dog also who came first. They sent the dog first. And then after I think 2 or 3 months, the family came.
All
yes.
right, all right.
And so from there, I worked about 2 years for that company. And then I decided to be independent. I talked to the owner of the company and I said that we want to do this and this. I had this, you know, entrepreneurship where I wanted to extend the company and do more business, but he didn't want this. He wanted to stay with the same business. And so I started an import-export company. Yeah. And it became very successful. I left the company, became very successful. Until one point in life where there was again a war in the Congo and a moment when I actually lost absolutely everything because I imported things through the air, so air cargo. And when Kabila father came into Kinshasa, they destroyed everything and there was looting.
Who was Kabila, Mark, just to contrast?
Kabila was a sort of a guerrilla fighter.
Right.
He was known to fight together with Che Guevara. And so he wanted to topple Mobutu, who was there at the time, the President Mobutu.
Mobutu was the president.
Mobutu was the president, in the beginning when I was there. And then he wanted to topple this government, and it was quite easy because Mobutu wasn't paying the army, so he came in easily. But there was a lot of looting and there was a lot of chaos. And at that point in time, I lost absolutely everything that I had. And of course, everything was insured, but the insurance company said, Mark, we're very sorry. There is a clause in your contract that we do not reimburse you in case of war. So this was a case of war. So I absolutely lost everything. And so I became from hero to zero. That's how I said it. I had absolutely nothing. I had to plant vegetables, I had difficulties feeding my family.
Wow.
That's how bad it was.
A businessman
yes.
went to the garden to
absolutely. I planted vegetables to have something to eat.
Wow.
I went to social security because I flew back to Belgium and there I had a little bit of social security. And they paid me small amounts where they say, we will explain you how you have to spend this money. And I was so, you know, my ego took a huge blow with that because I didn't tell the lady I'm a businessman. I know how to handle money, but
yes, because it wasn't your fault. Huh?
It wasn't my fault at all.
It wasn't your control.
No, it was a war, and
yes,
thanks to the war. So thanks, Mr. Kabila, for doing this. Thanks to him, I lost everything. Anyway, so after some time, I went through a period that was very, very difficult, as you can imagine. And I found an advert where a multinational I will not name the company, but a multinational, asked for a sales manager in the Congo.
Huh.
And I said, okay, in the Congo, maybe I can do this. But it was an engineering company. So I went there with human resources and they asked me, are you an engineer? I said, no.
The first question.
The first question, are you an engineer? I said, no, I'm not an engineer. And the lady who was handling human resources, she said, you have no chance to get hired here because you're not an engineer. All those people around, the managers, they're all engineers. And I said, yes, but I have something more than engineering. I know the ministers because of my former involvement in business. I know all the people on top of the government in the Congo. I said, please let me talk to the manager who is responsible for this business. And she said, okay, I'll make an appointment and we'll see. And the guy hired me.
Wow.
Yeah. He said, okay, he saw the opportunity and he hired me.
Because you have something different.
I
You
had
have
an
contacts.
asset that was different to others, but he could think out of the box and he said, maybe we don't need an engineer.
But
Maybe we need someone who has contacts within the
Yes,
government.
who
So
can talk
he knew,
with-
who can talk with high-level persons and make the business happen.
And that time, Marc, did you know the language in Congo? What's the language that
Lingala is
Lingala.
Lingala is the language that you have. French, of course. French is the national language used, but the second one is Lingala,
Lingala.
which was introduced by Mobutu for the army, because you have many languages in the Congo, but Lingala was one of the languages that was used by the army.
And I know that you can speak Lingala.
And I can speak not fluently, but I understand many of the words and the sentences, and I could.
And it makes a big difference too.
And it
huh?
makes a difference, yes.
To make friends and to
Absolutely.
know what they are talking about
Yes,
when
yes.
sometimes
Yeah.
they don't want that you understand, but you
Yes,
could.
but I could understand because sometimes they were speaking among themselves in Lingala, but I understood what they were speaking
And
about.
did you know Lingala when you asked
Yeah.
this opportunity?
I learned this when I was in the Congo before, when I had my business. So you learn slowly, you know, how to a little bit about the language, not fluently, but
Yes, but
enough
you can
just to get
understand.
around. Yes,
Great,
yes,
great.
yes, just enough to get around.
And then you start in this company. And how long did you work for this company?
And then I worked like 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, I think it was about 7 years. I worked for this multinational. Yeah,
Right.
we created an office, and at that point I was responsible for the sub-Saharan region, except for South Africa. So many countries.
Whoa.
I was dealing
wasn't
with many
just
countries.
Congo.
No, not just Congo. No. We had Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, Angola was part of the territory. So many other countries in which I was involved. So I was traveling around. But I have to tell you that before they sent me to the Congo, when they hired me, they hired me to go to the Congo, but I went to Vietnam for a contract.
Africa, Asia,
yeah. Okay, we hired you for the Congo, but you go to Vietnam. So I lived 1 year in
1 year.
Hanoi, in Vietnam.
1 year.
1 year.
Wow.
Just before going to the Congo, I went to Vietnam. So after that, there were kind of many problems, internal problems within this company. And I found myself in a state where I was, I had a burnout. But I was working like more than 14 hours a day. It was absolutely crazy. The stress was incredible. And I left the company and I tried to go to another multinational which was based in Accra, in Ghana. at this, West Africa. And I worked there for 1 year, and then it got worse and worse, the situation. I was thinking about, why am I working like this? Why am I putting all this time? I couldn't even enjoy I was making money, but I couldn't enjoy the money. People around me, yes, they could enjoy the money. But the one that is working like crazy, he had all the stress, and he couldn't enjoy this money.
And Marc, but it was your objective, to high, because
Yes.
you were in a high level
Yes.
of the company,
Yes.
of those company,
Yes.
the two companies, all right?
In a certain company, the last one, I was even a board member,
Wow.
and I was managing director and board member. And
And it was something that you wanted, huh?
yes, of
It
course,
was your-
it's my ego. I wasn't interested in the money.
Huh.
From the beginning, money wasn't relevant to me. But I was really interested in getting this high position, to be the highest possible position, to reach the highest possible
You
position.
achieved that.
Yes, I achieved that, yeah.
And isn't it weird that you achieved that,
And
but
then
when
you realize
that it wasn't enough? Not
that
just
is not
the,
life.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have the money, you reach the top, kind of, and then you say,
What for?
that's not life. That is not life. That's not what I feel. I still had this burnout, and then I felt like I don't want anything to do with business anymore.
Huh.
I want to leave this business world. And the people around me, they said, but Marc, you are crazy. You have a very high salary, you have a high position. Why are you leaving this?
Marc, just tell us some parts of this life. Like you told me about your house, about your cars. Tell us something to contest how high level you were living there. Give us some examples.
Okay, when I lived in the Congo, I was living in a house where that was owned by the Prime Minister, Lumumba. It was like everything in marble. It was like a palace almost.
Wow.
But we had to. I wasn't paying for the rent. I have to. It was the company that was paying for the rent.
Yeah, but imagine.
Yeah, but because we had to invite ministers and ambassadors and high-level people of CEOs of companies, so that was the reason. There's always a reason why you have this.
Just the
I was
people
living there.
know that the high level that you were living there.
Okay.
You
Yes.
had your
Of course, I had a maid, I had a driver. I didn't have to drive my car. I had a gardener, I had a maid, someone who cooked for me. You had like a whole personnel around you. Yeah.
and with all these things you weren't happy.
No. With all these things that I had, I wasn't happy. No.
Oh, and no happy and no health.
That's another point. So when I was almost at the end of this, what I call career, there came a shift. But the shift came with being sick. I was diagnosed with cancer. So I was worrying so much that I attracted this cancer. And then they say, Marc, you have to go for chemotherapy or whatever other, you have to go to a hospital and so on. You will die. If you don't, you will die. And then the first impression was, okay, maybe I should die. Maybe I should die.
To see how
Because
complex
I was
you
not,
were. Huh?
I was not happy in this world. Maybe I should die. And then I decided to go, I was living then in Ghana, West Africa, Accra. And then I said, okay, I buy a house in Cape Town, in South Africa. So I left everything. I resigned from that company. I worked for another 3 months, which was in my contract. And they didn't understand. They said, Marc, what is the reason why? I said, I cannot give you a reason. And also, I didn't want anyone to know that I had cancer, that I was diagnosed with cancer.
You didn't talk with
No.
anyone.
Not even with my family.
Whoa.
I didn't say anything to anyone. I was the only one that knew about this. So I traveled to South Africa. I bought a house there, and it took me 2 years to recover, to come back. And it was the contact with the sea and the mountains and the environment in South Africa that made me calm down, but I was still alive, And then I decided I want to do, if I don't live for a long time, I want to do whatever I loved to do before, but I always wanted to do. And that was live on a sailboat and cross an ocean.
Wow.
Not necessarily do a circumnavigation,
All right.
but just live on the boat away from land. Because when I was away from land, I felt that all the worries are there on land, and have no worries when I'm on the boat.
Because you told me on weekends you went to sail your...
Yes, before when I was in Ghana,
cat.
so I was working like 14 hours a day, but only the weekend I took my car and I went to a little river that was connected to the sea in Ghana. And I had a little hobby cat.
Hobby cat, all right.
And that was my only escape that I had in the weekends. And I slept there in a little bunk bed. And I went there for the weekends. And that was the only escape I had. And that's the point when I realized I'm happy when I'm on a boat. Mm-hmm. I really feel good when I'm on a boat.
And it's so important when you know what makes you happy, what's your escape,
Yes.
What's your
Absolutely.
hobby.
Yeah. And then I saw, okay, this boat makes me happy. And I thought, okay, the Hobie 16 is a small boat. I said, what if I have like a bigger boat like this with a house, like a cabin on it? That would be wonderful to live on a boat like this. And I kept this as a dream. And then I said, okay, maybe I should do this. And when I was in Cape Town, I said, okay, I'll sell everything I have. No cars, motorbike or whatever. I have house. I want to sell everything. My clothes I gave away. The suits I had like a businessman, I gave away to the gardener. I didn't sell them. I gave them away. Right. The guy was so surprised. He said, oh no, I can go to church with these beautiful suits. Oh, everyone would look at me. I said, yeah, that's wonderful. So you're happy, I'm happy. I let go of many things. Great. Because on a boat you cannot take many things. Yeah. So I sold everything.
Less is better.
Yeah, less is more. Huh?
Less is more.
Less is more. So I went on this boat. I forgot about my cancer. I completely forgot because I didn't tell anyone. So no one could pity me and say, oh, Mark, we're so sorry. You have to go to the hospital and you have to do this. So I said, and I focused on the boat, on making this boat and living on it and making it self-sufficient. We have solar panels to have electricity, to have water on board, all these things to be self-sufficient. Because there was also one thing I didn't like, is marinas. I didn't want to be next in a marina, like on a camping or whatever, have neighbors. I want to be isolated. But in my mind, I still wanted to be away from the world.
All right.
And that's exactly what the boat gave me. Mm-hmm. I was away, I was always at anchor and always traveling around. And then, I sailed twice around Cape of Good Hope with this boat. And there's also a little story about the boat.
Tell us.
This boat was a catamaran, of course. It was only 34 foot. And people said, Mark, you will kill yourself. You cannot sail. This boat is too small. You need at least 40 foot. And I said, no, I will do this. I will sail with this boat and it will work. And it worked. And it worked. I had no problem. I had the same remarks.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I lived that experience.
You lived the experience, eh? So then I decided I had to, because the boat was not registered in South Africa. It was registered in the Seychelles. So I needed to get out of South Africa. I had 6 months. And so I had to travel. And I said, where do I go? And then I said, I want to cross an ocean. And then from South Africa, it's obvious, you go to Brazil. Brazil has more than 7,000 kilometers of coastline. So I said, I go to Brazil and I make one stop on this tiny island in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean, which is named St. Helena.
St. Helena.
That's where Napoleon was exiled
right.
and was buried also. So I made a little stop, 2 weeks to St. Helena, and from St. Helena I sailed to Salvador. And then in Salvador, in Brazil, I had the same problem because you can only stay like 6 months. Me, the boat could stay 2 years, but I only 6 months. So we had to sail to Trinidad. That was the next part, go to the Caribbean. And then of course I met Mauro.
Yeah.
Wonderful story, and we sailed together from Salvador to Trinidad.
Marc, how you start your spiritual life?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were a businessman, all right?
Yes.
So stress and
Yeah.
suddenly you shift,
Yes.
all right?
As a child, I was always interested in the paranormal. I was reading books that, after death experiences that my parents said, Mark, you cannot read it. They took the books away from me. I was like 12 years old or something. I was always interested in the paranormal. And then afterwards also it continued. But when you're in business, you're not focused on the spiritual side of yourself. So it was actually during life on the boat and my experience during the ocean crossing, because the more you are away from shore, away from the energies of other people, the easier it becomes to get back into your light being that you are actually. You are a light being. And that is something that I realized when I was sailing in the middle of the ocean. I felt a connection with the universe that I never felt before. And then I started receiving messages telepathically.
Wow.
To do this, to do that, and then I had this idea of creating, when I stop sailing, I will create an eco retreat where people that experience this burnout could come and earth again and go back to nature. And I realized that real life is connected to nature and not necessarily to business. It's not a problem if you have money, but you still have this, you need the connection to nature. And also you need to understand that, as we talked before, less is more. The less you have, and that is something I experience, and I try to do this, it's not easy, but I try to do this, to have less and to enjoy more the little things you have in life. And also be thankful for what you have. That is something that is, I think, very, very important to learn to be happy with what you have.
Yeah. And what I like when we talk, because you never say, oh, no more money, no more material things. No, like you have your material things.
Yes.
You have your toys.
Yes.
Right? And you enjoy that.
Yes.
Like you said, I'm so thank you.
Yes, but I'm not attached to it.
But yeah.
Without attachment. You can enjoy the things you have, but without being attached to it. And I will tell you why.
All right? To be a slave, maybe?
To be a slave of it, and to be a slave of it, and to be really attached to it. Because when you leave this world, and everyone leaves this world,
yes.
Yeah, some early, some late, but you leave it. What are you taking with you? Your house, your car, your boat? Nothing. You don't take anything with you. So the most important part, and that's what I learned throughout the years, is the experience. You can have a beautiful car, a nice car, yeah? You can experience the pleasure of driving this car. Not necessarily to show other people, for yourself, yeah? And then it's different than being possessive of something. That is different.
Yes.
and to share things with other people. So that is the shift I had, is from living more for myself, the ego, is wanting to have a career, to be on top of the business world, to know more sharing experiences, life experiences for people, so they could also learn out of this.
All right. Marc, well, we are spirit persons living in a material life.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. In a physical body.
In a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And what can you tell us, like with all your experience, like what we could do to improve our lives, living in a material life,
Mm-hmm.
right? But maybe searching for a spiritual life. What could you say? What advice could you give?
The best advice is to connect with nature. However you want to do this. And you say, yeah, but I have to work.
Yes.
I live in the city and I have to work. But maybe in the weekends, rather than going to a discotheque, you can go into the woods, you can go on a boat, you can go in the mountains, whatever is good for you. But you have to connect with nature. Mm-hmm. And I think that is healing. Nature heals, because we're all connected to nature.
Yes.
And in the cities, we lose the connection with nature. And that is something very important, because if you lose the connection with nature, you lose the connection to your spirituality.
Great.
And it's very difficult to become what they call awaken, or, to rise your vibrations.
Mm-hmm. Talking about awakening, you wrote a book.
Yes.
The
Yes.
name is
Awakening Consciousness.
Awakening Consciousness.
Because we see that in this world we have many people that are waking up like from a dream, that they say what is going on in this world is not normal. It's not normal. They realize this and they say, oh, we have to change things about it. And then they raise their vibrations by living differently. Mm-hmm. They start living more, like I said, closer to nature, or paying attention to being more nice to other people, and taking care of people. I think that is part of the awakening process. And I have a whole theory, of course, which I explain in my book, but you have what they call the Schumann resonances. Did you hear about that?
Yes,
the Schumann
yes,
resonances, which is actually around the world. They call it the heartbeat of the world.
All right.
And what we can see now, and that we can prove, it's scientifically proven, is that they are increasing. Mm-hmm. And with this increase in frequency, automatically the human frequency also increases.
Just to explain the fast mode, the Earth is going faster, something like this?
No,
no?
The Earth is not going faster, but the vibration is going higher.
Higher.
Yes.
All right.
So these frequencies that you have are going higher. But it has an influence on time also, because maybe many people experience that time is accelerating.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
You don't feel this?
Whoa.
Time is going faster and
Yes.
faster and faster. It is related to that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It is related to that.
Great. Oh, and Marc, he wrote so many books, huh? Some about Congo.
I wrote about my life. It's an autobiographic work, which is Roots in the Congo. I will have a new version soon coming out. And of course about the trip on the ocean.
Yes, yes.
Which I explain also what happened to us.
Yes.
But it's from the beginning, from when I started sailing up to when I ended kind of on Atlantis one. Because
and you lived on board for how many years?
I lived on board for two boats.
2 boats.
Yeah. So the first boat, that's the one we sailed together.
Yes.
I lived 6 years on that boat.
Years.
Yeah. And then I couldn't live on land. I came back to Spain. I sold a boat in Grenada, Atlantis One. I sold the boat in Grenada. And then I came back to Spain and I was living on an apartment. And I said, this is horrible. I cannot live here. It's impossible. And then I found a boat that I could afford, a Lagoon 380, in Guatemala. I took all my luggage that I had and I said, okay, I go to Guatemala. So, and I stayed 2 years,
2 years back
in Guatemala. Yes.
Wow.
Rio Dulce.
Great, great.
On that boat.
Wow.
And that's where actually it's by living remotely that the spirituality was coming to me, and that I received more and more like spiritual messages, if you will call it like that, and that I could write books also.
And nowadays, Marc, you are sharing this message by...
Yes. I share the message now. I make like short videos with messages that I receive that are important for people.
Right.
And I share them on social media, Instagram, Threads and Facebook, some on YouTube now. That's what I do.
And how can we find you? What's your name in this?
Marc Gielissen, author, is one. And I think that's the one I use for everything now. Also YouTube.
Author.
Yes.
Great.
The YouTube channel, and which was had another purpose before, but I changed everything because I was a kind of a rebel just after I left the business world. I was against governments and against all the leaders and against them, and I still am against them because I don't think we have leaders. But anyway, I don't worry about that anymore.
All right.
I focus on the positive things and the messages that brings happiness to people and more understanding of the world in which we live. And I think that's the most important part. Yeah.
All right.
That's what I want to do.
Marc, thanks a lot. All right. It's so good when you share all these things, all this true experience. All right, with us, that we can believe that all things can be changed.
Absolutely.
Right? All things can be changed.
Yes.
And you are this big example. All right. So many times you change.
Yes. And
you
there's
shift.
one message that is important, is that your mind is so powerful. Don't underestimate the power of your mind. And I experienced this many time in life. When you can visualize something that you have to focus, you can realize anything you want in life. Anytime, anything you want, even things you said, I can never achieve this, but it will happen if you can visualize on that.
Yeah.
And then be happy with what you have. Learn to be happy with what you have. And the work, I want to thank you, because you and Fabiana are doing such a wonderful work with what you are doing.
You.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Okay.
And thank you again that we can be here.
Okay.
All right. You're sharing with us all this opportunity to be with ourselves. Huh?
Absolutely.
To be in contact with nature.
Yes.
And to be with ourselves, that it's so important. Thank you so much, Marc.
Thank you, Mauro. Okay.
Great, my friend.